What a wild night it was in Abu Dhabi. UFC fans were treated to a barn burner as Shara Bullet Magomedov returned to the octagon in dramatic fashion against Marc-Andre Barriault. Coming off his first career loss, the stakes couldn't have been higher for the flashy middleweight striker with a growing cult following. The spotlight was firmly on Shara as he looked to prove he's more than just hype. And what followed was a thrilling 3-round war that had fans on their feet and Twitter buzzing. From spinning kicks to bloodied elbows, this fight was pure chaos in the best way possible. Let's dive into the action-packed scrap and break down everything that went down at UFC Fight Night in Abu Dhabi. From the opening bell, it was clear that Shara Bullet had a plan. Stay elusive, strike from range, and avoid getting sucked into a clinch-heavy battle with the stronger, more durable Barriault. The Russian circled the octagon with speed and finesse, firing off crisp inside leg kicks that immediately made an impact. One of those kicks buckled Barriault early, but to his credit, the Canadian kept advancing, eventually closing the distance and securing a takedown. Magomedov didn't stay down long. Using the cage to stand, he blasted an elbow on the break and quickly returned to center, resetting the pace on his terms. Shara's flair for the dramatic came alive toward the end of round 1. He threw a spinning kick that had the crowd gasping, even though it caused him to slip, followed by a smooth question mark kick that narrowly missed its target. The energy was electric, and even though Barriault remained composed, the style gap between the two fighters was evident. Magomedov was unpredictable and dynamic, while Barriault played the long game, betting on pressure and durability to wear his opponent down. But it was only the beginning of what would become a roller coaster fight for both men. Round 2 opened with fireworks. Shara launched into a flying knee that just missed, and Barriault came forward with relentless pressure. The fight got scrappy, with both men landing in short bursts during tight exchanges. Then came the turning point. Magomedov landed a clean head kick, and though Barriault absorbed it, the tide was shifting. Blood began to pour as elbows from Shara sliced open Barriault's head, and the Russian started to turn up the volume. But the veteran Canadian wouldn't go quietly. He fired back, clinched up, and began working the body with thudding shots. This wasn't going to be easy for either man. Just when it looked like Shara was pulling away, Barriault rallied. He landed a clean shot that stunned Magomedov, forcing the Russian to cover up and reassess. Bloodied but still fighting, both men wore the battle on their faces. Shara's nose was leaking, affecting his breathing, while Barriault's forehead streamed from that earlier elbow. But Magomedov was far from finished. In a wild moment, he connected with a right hand that rocked Barriault and nearly dropped him. The crowd erupted, but somehow, Powerbar survived to the horn. The momentum was swinging like a pendulum, unpredictable and intense. Heading into round 3, the pace didn't slow. Barriault, showing grit, came out with renewed energy and shot for another takedown. Shara fended it off and began returning fire with sharp inside elbows and nasty knees. Barriault pushed him to the fence, but Shara escaped with ease and continued chipping away. As the clock ticked down, Shara's confidence grew. He was lighter on his feet, more fluid in his strikes, and began unleashing spinning kicks and jumping knees again. Even after being tested, Magomedov never abandoned his style, a blend of danger and showmanship that's made him a fan favorite. The final minute was vintage Shara Bullet. He landed a clean shot that sent Barriault stumbling, and though he chased the finish, Barriault stayed upright. The Russian capitalized on a slip and secured top control in the dying seconds, cementing a dominant round. When the final horn sounded, there was little doubt about the outcome. All 3 judges scored the fight 30-27 for Magomedov, and the crowd roared as his hand was raised. The win not only snapped his losing streak, but reminded everyone why his rise through the UFC ranks was so electrifying to begin with. Shara's post-fight interview was filled with passion and confidence. Standing next to fellow one-eyed fighter and UFC commentator Michael Bisping, he shouted to the crowd, "Inshallah, I will become champion." His words resonated with fans who admire his grit, showmanship, and refusal to back down. Even after setbacks, he admitted the fight was tough, gave respect to Barriault, and promised not to repeat past mistakes. The win sets him up for another big opportunity, likely against a ranked opponent, and based on Saturday's performance, he's more than ready for that challenge. For Marc-Andre Barriault, this loss stings, but his toughness and durability were on full display. He absorbed serious damage and kept pushing forward. While the scorecards weren't close, his willingness to stay in the pocket and trade shots with a dynamic striker like Magomedov speaks volumes about his character. He'll likely bounce back and remain a solid test for rising contenders in the division. But make no mistake, Saturday night belonged to Shara Bullet, who reasserted himself as one of the most entertaining fighters in the middleweight division and possibly a future title contender. With this win, Shara Magomedov improves to 16-1 and once again becomes a name to watch closely in the UFC's stacked middleweight division. His flashy, aggressive style, combined with an underdog story and charismatic personality, make him tailor-made for superstardom. If he can build on this momentum and stay consistent, it's not hard to imagine him headlining events and even challenging for UFC gold down the line. For now, fans can breathe a sigh of relief. Shara Bullet is back, and the show goes on. Stay tuned, because the best may be yet to come. Beyond the win, what made this fight truly memorable was Shara Magomedov's ability to adapt under pressure. After being cracked hard in the second round and suffering a nose injury, many fighters would have crumbled, especially those known more for striking than grappling. But Shara didn't just survive, he thrived. He adjusted his movement, stayed elusive, and kept throwing offense in volume. That mental toughness is something you can't teach. It's clear that behind the spinning kicks and flashy moves is a fighter with real grit, the kind needed to climb the UFC rankings and make a real impact. Saturday's fight also reminded fans why the middleweight division is so exciting right now. With personalities like Sean Strickland, Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya, and now a resurgent Magomedov in the mix, the division is stacked with talent and unpredictable matchups. Shara's name adds more flair to the pool, a wild-card striker who's willing to take risks and put on a show every time he steps in the cage. UFC matchmakers have a tough but exciting job ahead when figuring out his next opponent, and fans are already speculating on who would make the best dance partner for Bullet's next brawl. As the UFC continues expanding its global footprint, events like UFC Abu Dhabi show how international stars like Shara Bullet can captivate audiences worldwide. Fighting in front of a packed arena in the Middle East, Magomedov's appeal was evident. Chants from the crowd, camera flashes during his walkout, and energy that never dipped. His journey from regional circuits to UFC main cards reflects how global MMA has become, and how fighters from every corner of the world are now shaping the future of the sport. With momentum on his side again, all eyes will be on what's next for Shara Bullet.